When it comes to watching any non-fictional or fictional TV show, great characters stem from interesting backstories and great personalities. In the case of sports and motorsports, that's what makes those eccentric drivers slash athletes stand out above all others. In the rise of the premier Monster Truck League, known simply as Monster Jam, there have been many great personalities, most of which have stuck with us and formed a fond memory of these drivers. While most are real people and not playing any characters like wrestling or
Two sisters, two trucks, let's go race.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. These traits make watching these drivers all the more interesting to not just follow or get behind, but made Monster Jam more enjoyable as a whole. So today, we are going to explore the greatest personalities in Monster Jam. Personality, the combination of characteristics or qualities that form an individual's distinctive character. That is the definition for personality, and with these 11 drivers I've listed, we are going to answer the question of which drivers have the greatest personalities. And to start off on our quest of answering this question, we are going to start off with, as Mark Schrader puts it, the punk with all the junk.
One more thing, hey, I know I'm from Chicago. I think the Bears suck. Brett Favre rocks. Who wants my t-shirt I'm wearing?
Balhan's career in Monster Truck started off quite normally, as most Monster Truck drivers do. He drove trucks like Blue Thunder, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Monster Mart, and among others. It wasn't until 2005 that we got to see Balhan that we associate with Monster Jam now. He would debut the brand new and Escalade truck that same year and would develop a personality akin to a rock star or celebrity. His truck would reflect that, with a simple black Cadillac body and huge spinners in the rims, along with purple LEDs and a TV with the stereo sometimes for pit parties. He would quite frequently get on the mic and voice his concerns if he rolled over early or was underscored, as evident in the second Houston show from 2005. Or how about at San Antonio in 2010, stating that the rule changes so frequently and felt like he was robbed of a spot in the next round. By 2006, he'd almost fully committed to this rock star-esque personality. In pit parties, he would be known for his couch of all things, and the pretty ladies he'd usually have standing around. If you're like this kid and got to ask a question, you might get just a little bit more than what you bargained for. But it wasn't just limited to his couch or pretty ladies that he sometimes paraded around with. It also included the addition of his mohawk that even after retiring from Monster Jam, he still rocks to this very day. The end of 2010, Balhan fully embraced his most notable character trait, his mohawk. And with this legion of fans simply known as the Mohawk Nation, it was time to introduce the Mohawk Warrior. It essentially was an Escalade, only adopting a giant mohawk on the top of the truck. By 2017, Balhan had retired and Bryce Kenny has taken over Mohawk Warrior. While Balhan was almost equivalent of a celebrity rock star turned monster truck driver, not everyone has that punk attitude. Some people just accentuate excitement, none more so than Mr. Excitement himself.
This is Monster Jam!
Jim Koehler's moniker of being Mr. Excitement could not be any more literal in the sense that when he's at your show, you're bound to witness entertainment in some shape or form. From his thunderous screams on the mic and sometimes scaring the living daylights out of reporters, to his pond antics, Koehler never ceases to disappoint when it comes to an entertaining personality. Funny enough, his personality developed with Monster Jam as it evolved over the years. Coincidentally, as Monster Jam started ramping up obstacles, from its regular car stacks to huge bus stacks to the unfathomable obstacles like this monstrosity of a bus stack, Koehler would not only get more wild on the microphone, but even more crazy out on the track. It became a tradition at World Finals that he would jump in the pond, and when a pond wasn't included on the track itself, there was always a mobile one at the ready. Even in 2022, they brought out a very small kids pool for him to jump in, which admittedly was very funny. Speaking of funny, almost any interview with Koehler for one of his many televised appearances, especially in the later years, is just downright hilarious. Like this one from Anaheim 2015.
Are you ever gonna score any points?
That's an awesome question!
Or literally all of his St. Louis 2009 interviews.
I don't know about a save, I'll just hang on for the ride. I couldn't get enough speed to clear that stupid thing. About time, man. I love it. I live for a track like this. Huge obstacles with crazy different angles. Get enough speed to clear that stupid thing!
While Koehler has toned it down a little in recent years, that still doesn't stop him from being, well, Mr. Excitement from time to time. I don't think Koehler's moniker would work if Koehler was actually playing a character of himself, which is why I think some drivers are better at playing compelling characters than others.
Now you need something that's sad, you talk to me.
In my opening statement, I mentioned not everyone plays a character. Most just are how the drivers actually are. Former wrestler turned monster truck driver, Chad Fortune, took his experience as a professional wrestler and brought it over to monster trucks. One of his more memorable moments in the sport was playing the role of the NWO's spokesperson during the TNN Monster Jam season in 2000. And while most of it was pretty cringy, or in some cases absolutely hilarious, for all the wrong reasons,
You gotta be kidding me! What do you want?
he kept kayfabe, or in non-wrestling terms, he stayed in character. When he transitioned to driving, he focused less on staying in character, well, sort of. The years leading up to 2005, he most certainly focused on driving. However, that year, in 2005, he would be given a brand new ride that ultimately, I think, ended up defining his career. Debuting the brand new Superman monster truck is what helped boost his career, with this signature Superman pose on the top of his truck. When it came time for Fortune to drive yet another new truck, he carried this over to Captain America, posing on his truck with the Captain America shield. He even carried this over to his last truck he'd drive before retiring, that being Soldier Fortune. He would salute the fans in some of his poses, but definitely not to the extent that he did with Captain America or Superman. But not all personalities come from drivers with compelling traits or interesting characters. You may not see their personality, but you can for sure hear it in their commentary and especially their voices.
Nobody is sitting at Everbank Field and digging. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me, Anderson?
The voice of Monster Jam, or rather voices of Monster Jam, has been largely debated and as of recently criticized. Many people have such fond memories of the legacy that these commentators left behind that the newer voices to some people are perceived as inferior. While I honestly believe that Ryan Lacoste and now Scott Jordan did and still do a fantastic job of giving this sport new life through commentary and both having great personalities, Scott Douglas and one of his many broadcast partners truly made Monster Jam all the more exciting back in its heyday. Going back and watching the early days on Monster Jam was truly exciting based off of commentary alone. The energy carried throughout made it feel like the show was live even though the show may have been weeks or even months ago. Their commentary just made their shows so much more exciting to watch. Like how Douglas and his other commentary partners reflect their feelings through their commentary, one driver in particular has his personality reflect in his driving on the track.
You gotta be kidding me. That's beautiful.
Anyone from the Anderson family has traits of their father within them, and I think Ryan Anderson does a fantastic job of carrying the legacy. In fact, Ryan in some ways I think outdoes his father because his personality he presents in interviews and media is on full display when he's out on the track. His signature quote, "I won't stop until the truck stops," is quite literal in the sense that unless something on his truck is already broken, about to break, or going to break, Anderson will not stop trying to murder his truck until it literally stops moving or is shut off. He has so much energy into his run with his throttle rhythm, and all of that truly makes him as a driver so interesting to follow. He might not win everything, but whatever the case is, he will put on a show no matter what. Speaking of putting on a show, like Chad Fortune, Deborah Maselli, or Madusa as she is known by the Monster Truck fans, changed from one profession to another. She was a former WWF Women's Champion and talented female wrestler at a time where women's wrestling was vastly overlooked and underappreciated, unlike in today's world. However, moving to monster trucks and learning from the icon of the sport, Dennis Anderson, really invigorated her career. In just 4 years, she became a world champion in Monster Jam, and then doubled that a year later. To this day, she is the most winning woman in terms of world championships in Monster Jam. In some aspects, she shares characteristics with other drivers that we've mentioned, getting on the mic and screaming like Koehler, or when she would tell the fans to boo the judges, like in Anaheim 2015, after feeling she was underscored. She even kicked an Australian news reporter once, which I thought was pretty funny. Great sportsmanship.
Because we came out, cocked, locked, ready to rock. We got the job done.
Scott Hartsock's personality I don't think can be matched to any of the others that we've mentioned before now, simply because it's not just about the feeling you get from watching a segment or interacting with them. For Hartsock, his great sportsmanship is what made him stand out. A modest competitor who always wanted to win, someone who pushed the limits in the hopes of winning. He was all about winning fair and square, especially in his home state of Florida, and he called out anything he felt was unfair and unjust. And when he won, he celebrated but never gloated, always super humble and excited. Hartsock became known for his signature lines, which were always well rehearsed and skillfully crafted, including numerous gun-related analogies when talking about his truck, and the gambling analogies when in Vegas, like in this interview.
Hey, this is Vegas, you put your quarters in there, you might win, you might not. These guys are serious, we're all serious.
It is likely he probably thought about what he was going to say more than almost any other driver, and there's very few interviews where he isn't on his A-game with his wordplay and confidence. Hartsock honestly was the perfect underdog to root for. He had the equipment to take out the very best in the sport, but sometimes came up short. And as previously mentioned, his straight up and honest personality, combined with his brilliant sportsmanship, made him an easy driver to get behind and follow. His signature quote, cocked, locked, and ready to rock, essentially told people that you had to be at your best game if you were going to beat him in racing, because he would be ready to bring his A game. When Hartsock passed away last year, it really hit people hard. Numerous people, including myself, wrote or shared tribute videos or social media posts celebrating the life of Hartsock and the impact he made on our sport.
Dennis Anderson, the icon of the sport, 22 years behind the wheel of the most popular truck in the world.
Similar to how Hartsock was a modest competitor that always wanted to win, Dennis Anderson became the icon of the sport with not just his truck, but his personality also. Anderson from the beginning wanted nothing more than to prove people wrong with all of the equipment he had. He didn't always have the best equipment to start out with. In fact, for a large part of his early career, he had made a name for himself because he would usually run so hard that he would tear the truck up and not be able to advance in the bracket. This was the spark to what the Gravedigger Monster Truck was all about. And look where Anderson has brought the name to today. He's made it the most famous and recognizable monster truck on the planet. Not a whole lot of trucks have had the legacy that Gravedigger has, or even given us as many memorable personalities that Gravedigger team has. You could argue that Charlie Porkins should be on this list, or Gary Porter, or even Adam Anderson. While I do think they have great personalities in the sport, nothing trumps the icon. Like Scott Hartsock, Dennis Anderson wouldn't shy away from calling out the officials if he saw anything that didn't seem fair, and definitely didn't shy away from getting worked up over it. But that was only a few times, because most of it was filled with him thanking his fans. Anytime you went to a show with Dennis Anderson, he'd give you a 2 to 5 minute speech about how he loves his fans and he thanks them for every nut and bolt in his truck and every shingle on his roof. He's now got his children to take over the reins of the Gravedigger team now that he's retired, but still drives the Extreme Kingsling ride truck as part of the Dennis Anderson Extreme Monster Truck experience. Even out of the competition and the championship scene, he manages to be involved in the industry in some way and connects with his fans. But Anderson's arch rival, Tom Meents, is very similar to him, including in his personality.
Here's the professor getting it done again. She's standing by with Tom Meents.
While Tom Meents never really had any biological sons or daughters that would stop him from competing in Monster Jam or Monster Trucks in general, that hasn't stopped him from training the new generation. Tom Meents started out as any other rookie. Cocky, arrogant, and a hint of trash talking here and there. Throughout his career, he developed a friendship and a bond with his arch rival Dennis Anderson that we covered in this video. Eventually though, the cockiness was toned down, which kind of allowed it to not really come across as arrogant, rather sometimes humorous, and definitely wasn't meant in ill will. You can't really come across as arrogant or cocky, especially when you earned 14 world championships over the last 22 years. Even in 2022, when competition is quite competitive amongst teams, Meents still manages to win quite frequently. Like some of the other drivers on this list, Meents has been quite comedic in interviews like Atlanta 2010 or Orlando 1999 with his hilarious trash talk. Tom Meents' personality is actually quite broad, because it's not just limited to being comedic or once being cocky. He's remained and continues to be confident in his driving ability. Like we mentioned in our other video, he's gone on to be the driving force of Monster Jam University, training the up-and-coming talent to become the next big stars in Monster Jam. Our final personality is one I don't think you may have expected to see on this list.
I want to be able to leave going, I gave it my best shot. I laid it all on the line every week, not played it safe.
Todd LeDuc might be a sleeper in terms of the greatest personalities. In fact, he shares traits with some of the drivers that we've previously mentioned. When he started out driving, it didn't take long for him to win, winning racing in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona in just his first year of driving. When he debuted Metal Militia, he started to develop some level of cockiness or arrogance that may have thrown people off originally, but what I think was just actually his confidence. He proved himself at World Finals 15 by becoming a World Freestyle Champion, then the following year winning a World Racing Championship, and almost doing the same at 2016's World Finals. In today's world of Monster Jam, most drivers keep to themselves their beliefs of an outcome of a competition or event, while LeDuc has always been somewhat outspoken in terms of wanting to win or believing that he should have won. LeDuc believes that his extreme will to win should be the standard, not the exception. Even when switching to Monster Energy in 2017, he kept up that level of confidence and sometimes turned it up a little just for the enjoyment of the fans. This year he still kept up his confidence, but not on public display as much as previous seasons. I imagine with whatever truck he drives for the new season, he'll still keep it up, and that's what makes LeDuc's personality so memorable. So now that we've explored these personalities, one thing is clear to me. There are many things that make up a great personality in this sport. It can be someone with an attitude, or someone who seeks excitement. It can be as simple as a character being played up for TV, or the voice of our childhoods and upbringings. Someone that reflects their personality in their driving, or some that are just great sportsmen. From the overly confident to the professor or the icon of the sport, Monster Jam has never had a shortage of great personalities, and I don't think the new generation will disappoint. I guess only time will tell. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon with some more Monster Truck content.